Hello, Fitness Lifestyle 25. We'll be getting started in just a minute. Thank y'all for joining us on today. Hello, Yolanda. Hello, good evening, good evening, good evening. Hello, Yolanda. Let me check and see if I have any more comments. Hello out there for those of you who are joining me live. Go ahead on and let me know where y'all joining me from. Hello, IG. Hello, Indeed. Hello, not Indeed, LinkedIn. Hello, YouTube. Hello, thank y'all so much for joining us live on tonight, where we're going to continue talking about toxic relationships. And tonight we're going to be talking about why we stay in toxic relationships. Why do people stay in toxic relationships? Why do people stay? So if you were here last night, or if you had the chance to go back and watch the replay from last night, we talked about toxic relationships as well last night. And so I'm like, okay, we just keep going and talking about toxic relationships. We'll switch up the gears a little bit tomorrow, because tomorrow I'll be talking about my survivor story and how I ended up where I am, and also what is my why. Because a lot of times we think sometimes people just showed up overnight. No, didn't show up overnight. Who I am today has been a process. And so tomorrow at 10 a.m. on YouTube only, I'm going to be talking about my own survivor story, from victim to survivor. So y'all join me in the morning at 10 o'clock on YouTube as I talk a little bit about my story. So I'm excited about that. I love to be transparent, because you don't live with me from on a day-to-day basis, and some people show up and you're like, well, who are they? Where they come from? What qualifies them to do what they do? And so I like for people to have the opportunity to ask questions and to really get to know who I am. And so we're going to talk about that, or we'll be doing that in the morning, 10 o'clock. But tonight, we're going to talk about why people stay in toxic relationships. And if you've never heard anyone talk about attachment theory, then we're going to talk about it today. We're going to talk a little bit about attachment. I'm not going to give you guys the full story of what attachment is and all of that, because if I do, we'll be here for about a couple of hours, because a lot of this stuff can get in depth. So I try to break it down in small pieces. And we were on last night for about an hour. It was close to an hour. It's like 45, 50 minutes, I think it was, when I got off. Because on IG, people were asking questions. Like, people wanted to know. And so we were on a little bit longer than usual last night. And I'm completely okay with people asking questions. I'll answer them live. Or if you have a question, you save it to the end, email me, text me, message me, or however, and I will make sure to answer your message or answer your question. Okay. Okay. All right, y'all. So, why people stay in toxic relationships? I start always by introducing who I am. Sometimes I forget because I think everybody know who I am, and it's just not. Everybody don't know who I am. So let me tell you a little bit about who I am. My name is Dr. Tiffany Ross. I am a therapist, a trained marriage and family therapist, and I'm a relationship expert. I specialize in working with women who are healing and recovering from traumatic relationships such as toxic relationships, bad breakups, and divorces. And so I specialize in helping those women heal and recovery. So a lot of the women that I work with are on their journey to healing. And y'all, healing is a journey. Sometimes we think we always gotta have it together. It's not. We don't. Healing is a journey. It's taken me about 20 years. It's kind of telling my age. About 20 years for me to get to where I am. That's because it's a journey. It's different things come up at different points of times in your life. And so when those things come up, when they came up for me, I've had to deal with them. So it has taken me about 15 to 20 years to get to where I am. So healing is a journey. So let's talk about toxic relationships. Now, y'all, by the end of this week, y'all are going to know what toxic relationships. If you don't know by now, if you watch any of my videos by now, you know what a toxic relationship is. And if you do, you could just put it in the comments and help one of your fellow people that's coming behind you that may read the comments, who may watch the replay, know what a toxic relationship is. They just help them catch up. So a toxic relationship is characterized by a relationship with extreme highs and extreme lows. Extreme highs being the relationship is good. The person can do no wrong. They're Princess Charming. Whichever one, Prince or Princess Charming. They're the perfect mate at that point, the perfect partner. They're doing everything right. And you're like, where this person been all my life? I've been waiting all my life for a person like them. You telling your good girlfriends, did you know he did such and such? Some of that may be love bombing. He showed up and I ain't never had nobody to show up like him. Remember, some of that may be love bombing. But the person is literally the person that can do no wrong. They what you've been looking for. They're the person that you've been looking for all your life. And then over time, because they not finna show you who they are over time. In the beginning, it happens over time. You start noticing that, wait a minute. And I really meant wait a minute. Not wait a minute, wait a minute. Something ain't right. This is starting to not feel right. This is starting to not feel okay. This is starting to mess with my mental and emotional health. Being with this person is not peaches and cream. It is starting to literally mess with my mental health, my emotional health. And so here we go, the extreme highs and then the extreme lows, but the extreme lows don't stay extreme lows for a long time. They stay that way for a period of time, and then it gradually, because the whole goal is for them to keep you there. The whole goal is for them to manipulate and control and have the power. So they do something that will lure you back in, and then you back at that extreme high. And you almost forget that, when it's bad, it's really bad. It's really bad until something happens, until something drastic happens and you realize I'm not going anywhere. Years may have passed at that point, weeks, months, life has gone on, and you may have been doing life with this person for a very long time before you realize, something not really right. So that's a toxic relationship. And so what I noticed with toxic relationships is that our adult relationships tend to mimic our relationships with the people who raised us. Now, these are the things that we don't really like to talk about, because we think, they just toxic. They got that way overnight. They just got that way. They just got a bad attitude. They just, is something wrong with them? No, something happened to them. Something happened to you. You didn't just get how you got overnight either. It didn't just all of a sudden you woke up and you're you. No, it has happened over time. Hey, Worship 91. Thank you for joining on tonight. Something happened to you. Not what's wrong with you, but something happened. What happened to you? So we tend to see that our relationships, our adult relationships, whether it's our adult friendships, whether it's our adult relationship with our partners, marriages, whatever, they tend to mimic the relationships that we have with the people who raised us, our caregivers, our parents, or whomever raised you. So that's where the idea of attachment comes in, because attachment talks about how attached you were to the persons or that raised you when you were a child, and what is the quality of that? What did it look like? How consistent were they? How responsive were they? How present were they? Because I can almost guarantee you, remember we're talking about why people stay in toxic relationships. I can almost guarantee you that the relationship that you're in right now, particularly in adult, like married relationships, long-term relationships, I can almost guarantee you that the relationship that you have with your partner, especially if you had dealt with some of your wounds or past partners or ex-spouses or whatever, I almost guarantee you it's something about them that reminds you of your childhood. It's something about them. It's something about them, because we tend to gravitate to what's familiar to us. Even if it's not good, we gravitate to what is familiar to us. And so we talk a little bit about it with attachment. You know, I like to come with receipts. So I have to pull out my books for this one. I actually have already done a training on attachment. So I went back and dug up some of my old notes on attachment. And if you would like that, I'd be more than happy to give you my notes that I have already on attachment, because this stuff can get, it can get kind of deep. You can go Google it, and you'll probably find different kinds of attachment and all that, because things have evolved over the years. But I took it right back to the basics with this in attachment, who was originally created by John Bowlby. And you will see that if you go Google it and anything about attachment, you will see something about John Bowlby, because he's the original creator of attachment, or of the concept of attachment. So what is attachment? Now this is going to get real, like this definition here. Attachment theory is a lasting psychological connectedness that we tend to form with people, particularly in long-term relationships, such as a parent or a romantic relationship. The first attachment occurs during infancy with the primary caregiver. That's John Bowlby's definition. And so now we're starting to look at, well, what was your relationship like with your parent, or what with your caregiver? I was raised by my aunt, and my parents were around, so I had to literally take my time and go back and look at what has my relationship been like, or was like, with my parents as a child. So attachment focuses on three areas: availability, the consistency, and responsiveness. Like, how available were your parents? How consistent were they? I think I said that a few minutes ago. How responsive were they? Which means how consistent were they with meeting your needs? How responsive? Like, did they take their time, and then by the time that you really needed something, they were just like, it was too late, like you really needed them at a certain period of time, but they didn't show up when they did. They showed up late. Or are they inconsistent? Like, sometimes they show up and then sometimes they didn't show up. Or were they on drugs, or had some kind of addiction where the addiction was primary, was the thing that took their primary focus? Or were they in and out of a lot of relationships, and the relationship took their focus, and that way they didn't take care of you like they should have? Well, if any of those scenarios fit something, or trigger something for you of your childhood, then you will probably fall into what John Bowlby says is the insecure attachment. Because there are two kinds of attachment, or two categories. There's the secure attachment, and there's the insecure attachment. Secure attachment is kind of the ideal. It's like, the healthy relationships that where you both are mutually respectful of each other. You show up consistently for each other. You love each other. You respect each other. You not just respect in deed and words and what you do, but you also respect that person's personality. You expect that they're going to need their space, and you don't, it doesn't send you into, oh, I wonder if they're cheating, or I wonder if they're going to come back. Like, it doesn't trigger you into another place. Then you're probably following that secure attachment. But if you're in that insecure attachment, then even being with people sometimes is a trigger for you, especially in close relationships. If you have the insecure attachment where you may want a relationship, but you really can't trust that the person is gonna be there, that they're gonna be who they are, be who they say that they're gonna be. They're kind of inconsistent with, they're kind of in and out. Then chances are you grew up with a parent who was inconsistent, who was in and out, who was not responsive. And so there are 3 different types. And like I said, I just really don't want to get deep with this. I really don't want to get deep with this, but it can get deep. There are 3 different insecure attachments. Remember, I said it's 2 types, which is secure and insecure, right? And then on the secure, it's just one, which is just secure, the healthy relationship. And then there's the insecure that has 3 different categories up under there. So on those 3 different categories, or in those 3 different categories, you have one that's at one end of the spectrum, which is the anxious, preoccupied attachment, anxious, preoccupied. And then you have one at the other end of the spectrum that is the dismissive, avoidant. So I'm looking at my notes. So if you fall up under that, or if you fall up under that anxious, preoccupied attachment, you're clingy. You're needy. You're clingy and you're needy. That I'm just gonna be honest. You're clingy and you're needy, and every time you feel like you need somebody else in order to validate who you are. You're really concerned about, like, you have this deep need for of love and affection and intimacy, and like you crave it, and like you feel odd when you're not with people. And and I know people that are in relationships and they have this kind of attachment style that they don't feel like themselves, that they ain't got nobody. Like they don't feel like they need somebody in their life. Because it validates them as a woman or as a man. It validates them. It sends some kind of signals in their brain that they're worth something because they have somebody. But they're also very clingy, and they always want to be with you all the time. And there's no space. Like, you don't know who you are, because who you are is wrapped up in somebody else. So you struggle with your identity because your identity. So you will see this a lot of times with mothers who like their identity is wrapped up in being a mom, or their identity is wrapped up in being a wife or somebody's girlfriend. So let me go back to my notes because I got off. So they tend to hold a negative view of themselves, but a positive view of other people, which means they struggle with their self-worth, and they tend to crave that emotional intimacy. And then at the other end of the spectrum is the person who is fearful, avoidant. So they're very fearful intimacy. These are the people who they don't want to date because they don't trust nobody. Like they don't trust nobody. And even, there are some people, they're just kind of cold. I mean, that's the only way I can explain it. They are cold. Like, they may crave that. It's because deep down inside, we all want that intimacy. Like, we want people. We have that need for belonging. That is like at the foundation of who we are. But for people who have an attachment injury or have that fearful, avoidant attachment, even though they crave it, they don't trust it. So they are cold. They are cold partners. And we see a lot of this now when we're talking about narcissism. We see a lot of this with people who may have that diagnosis or who have some of those personality traits, that they're just cold and they're very selfish partners, and it's all about them. And but deep down inside, they really do fear. Like, yeah, they really do fear rejection. So they don't even reach out. Like, they don't even want the closeness because they fear the rejection. And they may be very cold and angry and bitter. Like, they're just not very good. I ain't gonna say it. Okay, I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna say that. But they always are pushing people away out of fear of being hurt. And then in the middle, right down there in the middle of the person who always pushing people away, and then the person who always need somebody and need to be clung to somebody and need that person for validation, is someone that's dismissive, avoidant, which is a combination of both of those. So I want you close, but then you getting too close and I'm gonna put you away. And so they avoid really close relationships. So they may be very shallow, and I've been in the presence or in relationships with people who are just kind of surface level. Like, going deep for them just ain't gonna, like, it ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna happen. And if it do, they may ghost you the next day because you got too close to them. Or they may be the people that, you can sleep with them one night and then the next day, you may not talk to them for the next 2 weeks. They may not show up for the next 2 weeks. They may not answer your phone call. So they create these scenarios. Like, I know people who create like something always wrong with them. Like, something always wrong with them. Something always wrong with somebody else. Like, you're not really looking at yourself. Something is always wrong with somebody else, but you're not really looking at yourself. So they avoid close relationships out of fear of vulnerability and overdependence, because they can't really depend on anyone else, because they didn't have people who they could depend on as children. So they grew up in households, and we're talking about addictions, or especially in very chaotic households, because parents who struggle with addiction, they may not always be in a mode where they're actively using. They may have moments where they show up periodically when they're not using. But those moments don't last all the time, because they're going to go back into that cycle of addiction. And then when they're in that cycle of addiction, they're very inconsistent. And so you, as an adult, are recreating. It's almost amazing that we recreate. If you have wounds that are unhealed, then you recreate these situations, and you stay in these toxic situations with these toxic people that also have their own attachment injuries, or their own attachment wounds, or wounds that need to be healed, or trauma wounds, or whichever one. Trauma wounds, attachment wounds, they're both, we can actually use those sometimes interchangeably. Sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes we can. But they have these wounds, and you don't realize that you're drawing these people because you have your own wounds. And so either your attempt to draw them, because we see people as our heart sees people. So if you have a heart wound, then you're seeing people through the wound of your heart. Now, my pastor says it like this. It's like, we see people as we are. Apostle Joshua Smith, he says, we see people as we are, which means if you're wounded, then you see other people as wounded, and you're drawing other people that's wounded, and you stay in these toxic places, in these toxic relationships, because it's comfortable. It's comfortable. It's comfortable. It's what you know. It reminds you of what you know. You don't really know anything different because it's all you know. That's what you know. So I know you're like, okay, well, I'm kind of seeing some stuff. Like, I see where I am. I see I may fit in one of these areas or the other. Hey, neurodiverse K? Hey, thank you for joining. So you're probably just like, okay, I see myself in one of these areas, one of these attachment wounds. I see that I'm drawing toxic people because I'm toxic, and I stay because it's comfortable. It's what I know. Even if it don't feel good, it kind of do in some kind of way satisfy some wound, some void that's in your heart. Like I remember sitting down with myself, because I journal, and I had to write out my cycle. Yes, mama. Hey. K. Karina K. I love that name. Like, I wrote out my cycle. I literally had to write out my cycle. And I'm like, why do I always end up with the same type of person? Like, they have the same, different names, different faces, but the same behaviors. Why are they inconsistent? Why do I keep drawing these people that are inconsistent? Why? And then it dawns on me, well, my father was in and out of jail when I was all my life. My father was in and out of jail all my life. And I didn't realize, y'all, that I was drawing because that was a wound in my heart that I hadn't dealt with. Like, that I hadn't dealt with it. And I was wondering, like, why in the world why am I drawing out the same people? They're inconsistent. Like, why do I keep drawing these people? What is the deal? And I mean, it was like, they say those come to Jesus moments with yourself. I think it was like 2009. I still have the journal, by the way, when I did that. It was like 2009 when I sat down and did that. I had to have a come to Jesus meeting with myself and realize, I got some issues that I need to deal with. I got some stuff that I need to deal with. And a lot of you are watching me now and you're like, I got some stuff that I really need to deal with. I got some stuff that I really need to do with. Because the problem is, you may keep going. We grow and mature. Of course we grow and hopefully you're maturing. We keep going, and you may move and you may change jobs and you may, do a whole lot of things in between that time. But you follow you everywhere. You can't get away from you. Karina K says, yes, we got to keep our journals. So many people journal, but don't revisit them. They don't. But you got to revisit. Like, even if you write it out, you got to go back and look. You got to go back and look. And the beauty about journals is you're able to track your progress over time. And if you look, I could almost guarantee you, if you journal in September this year and you go back and look at September last year, if you haven't done anything to challenge your personal growth, then you're probably at the same place you were in some areas that you were last year. You can't run from yourself. You cannot. Thank you, Karina K. You cannot run from yourself. You follow you. And that is a saying that you follow you everywhere that you go. It doesn't matter how many people you change, how many relationships, I don't care how many divorces, it doesn't matter. Because guess who follow you? You follow you everywhere that you go. No other person can help heal your wounds. You got to do the work. You got to do the work. You have to do your healing work. If you want to fix your picker, which is the type of people that you're picking, the type of men that you're drawing, the type of women that you're drawing, if you want to fix that, then you got to deal with you. You let them deal with them, but you got to deal with you. You really got to be honest, like I did. You have to be honest. Like, I really stayed because I was lonely. I really stayed because I was lonely. I was afraid of being on my own because I know what that's like. Because when I was a child, I had to be alone. I had to fend for myself. And I was afraid of leaving this person, even though they were toxic, because I didn't want to be alone. Like, you got to get to the point where you become real with yourself. Because as long as you're not real and you're not really facing the problem head on, well, guess what? We're going to be back here it's September, right? Yeah. You're going to be right back here next September. You're going to be right back here next September. So I want to leave y'all with this challenge. I want to challenge you to go Google the attachment style and find where you fit. Like, find where you fit. And there's a lot of stuff out there that's going to ask you, that's going to offer some suggestions. I can't say yay or nay because I can't approve it if I hadn't saw it. But here's what I am going to say. Go do your work. Whether that's hire therapists. If you're dealing with trauma and attachment, a lot of that, you're going to hire therapists. I wouldn't recommend a coach to deal with attachment issues. And I wouldn't recommend a coach to deal with trauma. I would not. Yes, attachment. Wow, I didn't know that was a topic because I came late. Oh, yes, we're talking about why people stay in toxic relationships, but the reason why is because of their attachment wounds. And so we're talking about that. Go back and watch the replay. I'm gonna leave it up so you'll have time to go back and watch it. Yes, message me. I would love to message me. So you got to go do the work, but just don't identify your attachment, where you feel like you fit in that attachment wound or your attachment style. But please, at that point, you may need to hire a therapist. Thank you, Karina K. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. You need to hire a therapist. Please don't hire a coach for trauma. And when I'm talking about trauma, I'm talking about helping come alongside with you. But the beauty of me being a therapist is I know the scope of my practice. Like, I know when you need a therapist versus you need a coach. Yeah, Karina K wants to share a thought. Sure, go for it. Go for it. I know the beauty. I know where my scope ends. If I know where, okay, you need a therapist. Like, this is something that's outside of my scope of practice as a coach. You need a therapist, and let me help you find you one. So the first thing, identify your attachment style. The second one is go do your work. Go do your work. Karina, I'm actually on Facebook Live and streaming to some other platforms. So you may have to share your thoughts inside of the comments. Or we'll hop on live and do something later. Just for IG. Let's see. Basically, I'm struggling to verbalize, but basically some people will be worried about being honest because it says something about their girl, come on. Yes, she said people will be struggling to be honest because they will be worried about being honest because of I'm just going to rephrase that if that's okay for my listeners or for my viewers. They're worried about how it's going to make their parents look. So a lot of people struggle with dealing with their attachment wounds or even dealing with issues related to their parents because it's almost like you're violating your parents, whether it's their privacy or even making them look different in people's eyes. And so a lot of times I can be in conversation or especially in therapy in the past, and we're dealing with parent issues or we're dealing with wounds from parents, and people will go and say, yeah, my parent did this, A, B, and C, but then they'll turn around and justify their behavior. And that's because they want to shield that relationship, because there's something about like us going against our parents that seems like we're violating something. That's a good point. Good point. Did I sum that up pretty good? Yeah, and the challenge is going to be like you learning how to break outside of those family secrets and all those family norms and do what you need to do for you. Like, healing is about you doing what you need to do for you. Yes, please, I can't be too articulate on today, but you did fine. No, I got it. I got I got exactly what you said. It's an internal fight. It's an internal battle. I got it. Yeah, I got it. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, so you got to do what you got to do for you. You got to do what you got to do for you. That's what healing is about. Is learning how to prioritize what you need in the moment. I remember going through that time of, just really, I was going through my own therapy in college, especially as I was, being a therapist or learning training to become a therapist. Thank you. And the hardest part for me was dealing with my issues with my parents. That was the hardest part for me. Because I grew up in a household where, it's in my household as a black woman. In my household, it was like what happened in the house stays in the house. And so actually challenging what happened in the house and bringing it to somebody else outside of the house, and a lot of stuff that I was like, we did a lot of group coaching, a lot of group therapy type stuff. And so not just bringing it to a therapist, but bringing it to a whole room full of therapists and having them, their feedback. And oh my goodness, that was the hardest part for me. But it also was one of the most healing times in my life. It was the most healing time. And my relationship with my mom, the woman who raised me, my relationship with her was very strained during that time because I was going against all kind of family norms. Like all kind of family norms. Releasing all kind of family secrets. And I know, now my family probably... Because I'm like, yeah, I ain't finna die with none of this. Like, you did it, you gonna hold yourself. Like, I'm not finna carry your secrets. That's not my role. If you paying me, I'm gonna keep your secrets because I'm bound by confidentiality. But for my family, if it comes down to me choosing my healing and your secrets, and this is for any of my family members, I don't care. If it comes down to me choosing, every time I'm gonna choose my healing. I'm gonna choose my healing. Period. 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 I'm gonna choose my healing. So, what it? Oh, hello. Okay, so she says, they be trying to silence us in our culture too. Ooh, yeah. Ooh, yes. What's your culture? Where you from? So I'm so proud of my family. It took me fighting like a wild dog, but they have packed. Good. They've packed it up and we don't do all that secrecy crap. Thank you. I noticed that, like, my mom, before she passed, she told me a lot of things that she was in her late 60s, that she had never told anyone else. I mean, like, never told anybody else. Black, British, Nigerian. Yeah. Oh my goodness. But it's so healing though. It's so healing once you release it. Like, carrying all that stuff and carrying all other people's baggage and all of that. Like, once you release it and start repairing those wounds, then you can begin to form more secure attachments. You can begin to have more healthier relationships. But as long as you got all that stuff that's still hidden in your heart and that need to be healed and all that, as long as you still got that there, you're gonna continue attracting toxic relationships. Yes, living and loving. Let me check my comments on the other platforms. Facebook, what y'all got? That used to be you? Yes. Which part, Dr. Monica? My comments wasn't popping up in real time. Hey, Dr. Monica, Dr. Latarsha, LaShonda. Hello. You broke that curse. Come on. Broke the curse. Broke it. No secrets over here. I mean, my biological mom called one day and said, "Aren't you putting out a book?" She said, "Aren't you putting out a book?" I said, "Yeah, I plan to one day." And I knew that was her, like, trying to brace herself, because is out, like, we out here now. Like, we out here now. I'm not going to the grave with nobody's secrets. I just can't do it. I can't have it weighing me down. So if it comes to me getting free, then yeah, I'm sorry. And I try to prepare. Like, when I first started in 2017, I started my business in 2017. And I remember someone asking me to speak at a conference. It was a dating conference. And they wanted me to speak on the topic of sex. And so I was like, you want me in a dating conference? You want me to talk about, because I ain't always did it right. Like, I ain't always did that. You want me to talk about it? You sure? Because I'm like, I can't be fake. Like, I can't go on platforms and stuff. Like, I'd have to be me. And so she was like, yeah, you're the perfect person. You're the perfect person. And I had to tell my family before I went on that and did that. It's like, I may say some stuff that may expose some things when my family here, like my children and my husband. Because at that point I needed to tell my family, but I did tell my children and my husband. And so I think that was the first time that I ever spoke about being sexually abused on that platform in 16. I think it was 2016. Yeah, I can't fake it. Like, I can't fake it. I can't do that. I can't do that because I realize there are so many people that's connected to me being real. Like people are connected to that. Like there are too many people hurting. There are too many people looking for answers. There are too many people that just need someone to validate what they're going through and that can actually be real about it. Like we've gotten a lot of fake people enough in the past, and we just need somebody to just be real. Just be real. Just be transparent about what help me. Me knowing about your story is not going to make me do the same thing that you did or make me fall into a ditch like you fell into a ditch. Hopefully me hearing your story is going to empower me that where you are now, I can get there. And if you partner with somebody, you can, and like a mentor, coach, a therapist, if you partner with somebody, you'll get there in less time. Too many people suffering and needing to hear your voice. Yes, Karina. Too many people suffering that needs to hear your voice. They need to hear hope. So I also want to challenge you. I didn't think we were going to go here, but we're going to go here while we're here. That whatever you're sitting on the sidelines that you know you need to be doing and that you should be doing and that you've just kind of sat there out of fear, whatever it is, now is the time. Like it is time to do that now. There are too many people waiting on you. They are waiting on you to get in position and get where you should have been years ago. Get there. We have no more time to waste. We have no more time to waste. I was meeting with a coach one time, and they asked me, what do you envision your life to be? Like, but at the end of your life, what do you envision your life to be? I said, well, that's for me, that's easy for me because I envision at the end of my life, when I get to heaven, I want to hear the Lord say, well done. Like I do. I want to hear him say, well done. You're my good and faithful servant. You've done everything. And this is my paraphrase. You've done everything that I told you to do. Come on in here. Come on in here. Well done. Like, do y'all know how much, like, I get excited every time I think about it. The whole concept of well done, like somebody just saying well done to you. Can you imagine? Do you imagine what this, what it's like when a person that you love says well done to you? Like we know what that feels like. But to hear for me, my Savior said well done. Like, can you just imagine the smile that goes across his face saying that? So we have no more time to waste. Get there. Do what you gotta do. The one in the middle. Okay, got it. Yeah, me, Dr. Monica, see you and I like this. Me too. We like this. Oh, it's all coming to one place, Dr. Monica. I think it is anyway. No, you good. As long as I can see your comments, I can see your comments. Like I'm checking 3 different places for comments. So as long as I can see your comments, I'm good. Our comments coming in. Karina is lighting up. IG, what do you do the world a disservice by not being your authentic self? Yes, you do the world a disservice. Karina, me and you like need to get on live like soon. Time is of the essence. It is now. Time is nigh. Now is the time. Now is the time. Okay. I'm gonna go. I love y'all. Thank y'all so much for joining on the night. We won't be back here tomorrow because I have church service tomorrow. So I'll be at church at 7 o'clock. But I will see you guys back here in the morning at 10 o'clock a.m. on YouTube. Remember, on YouTube, where I'll be talking a bit about my victim to survivor story. And just really continue just being transparent about who I am. How did I get where I am? A little bit about my story. I'm not going to have no notes. I'm just going to talk. That's just how that's going to roll. I ain't got no notes. I'm just going to talk. Just going to talk and connect. You got a carpe diem before the DM carpes you. Yes. Yes, girl. I love it. So, let me see. Okay, I used to joke that I would break up right before every holiday so I wouldn't have to buy gifts, but it was that, yep, break up because during the holidays is when things are a little bit more closer. It's cuddle season. Good observation. And for me, I would, hey, Dr. D. Hello, Dr. D. Dr. D, you always catch me right at the end. Dr. D Evans is on IG, y'all. I am so excited about her coaching program in November. Dr. D, I could not get the link to work that you put on Facebook. Can you message me the link for people to join, for those who want to sign up, if it's still open? I was intending to message you today, and I forgot. I'm sorry. I forgot. I had like 2 or 3 different projects going on. I just completely forgot. But if you will message me, and I'll make myself a mental note to message you if you don't put it in there tonight, so that I can get the link and attach it to the flyer for those who are interested in signing up. But Dr. Monica, for like in my the cycle that I was talking about that I drew out earlier, like in 2009 is when I drew it out. Like I noticed that it was some point in my cycle. I wish I had brought it in here. It's in the other room. But it was some part of my cycle where I would literally find, like I would nitpick people. Like I would nitpick the person that I was dating. Like something was always wrong with them. And then I was like, wait a minute. How's something always wrong with them? And because of that, I just kind of found reasons to back away. It wasn't so much about them. It was about me. It was my way of just kind of putting up that distance with, like, between us. Yeah, I like, wait a minute. It was like like something just hit me in my face. Like, it ain't about them. It ain't about them. This is about you. This is about you. Give me the link when you do finally post the live on your feed. Will do. Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to go, y'all. When they got real interested, I felt like I was suffocating. Yes. Like you too close. Yes. And then like you when you realize, oh, I am kind of lonely, or it was for me, it was like, oh, I am kind of lonely. I do really want to be with somebody, like, and then I reach back out, because I kept the Rolodex of like people that I will reach out to, but I ain't really want you to stay. Like, it was temporary. You were temporary. That's so bad. I mean, it sounds so bad, like me saying that now, but I'm like, oh my goodness, Lord, thank you for healing. Thank you for healing, Jesus. Thank you for healing. Thank you. Thank you for healing. Okay, I told you we were. I have to tell you about my dream too, Dr. Monica. I love y'all. Like, whatever. Thank you for healing. Woo! Thank you, God, for healing. So I love you guys. Thank y'all for joining on tonight. This has been fun. Thank y'all for joining. I will see y'all back in the morning. For those of you who can't catch me on YouTube tomorrow, it'll still be there for you to watch the replay. I'll also email the replay out to my mailing list. So if you're not on my mailing list, get on my mailing list. Go to my website and you can scroll to the bottom and you'll be able to join my mailing list from there. Thank you. You'll be able to join from there. And I do offer coaching. My coaching is like my one-on-one coaching is closed for the month, just so that I can breathe. So that I can breathe. My schedule for September was filling up really fast, and my schedule for October is starting to fill up too. So I have closed my coaching, my one-on-one coachings for the rest of this month. You believe? We gotta talk. I've closed my coaching, my one-on-one coaching for the rest of this month, and then it will reopen. You can go there now and still schedule. If you're on Facebook, you can schedule directly from Facebook. If you're on IG, you can go to my profile and you can schedule directly from my profile, or you can go to the link. The link will link you back to my website where you can book directly from there. But we are closed for the rest of the month. We're not taking any more coaching clients or discovery calls for the rest of the month. We will pick back up in October. October 1 actually is when my schedule will open back up. I think October 1. Let me look. Because October 1 may be a weekend. It is. October 1 is a weekend. It'll open back up October 3rd when we'll start booking for discovery calls and clients. I love you all. Y'all have a wonderful night. See y'all later.